Hey there, glad you stopped by. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had that uneasy feeling about your Social Security check? Likely, you're relying on it to cover life's essentials, groceries, rent, prescriptions. And suddenly, there's this gut feeling that something might throw it off. Not because of anything you did, but because of a decision made somewhere up in Washington. That feeling? It's more common than most people think. And what just happened recently is exactly the kind of situation that brings that worry to life. A major federal policy was on the verge of kicking in, one that could have cut into people's Social Security payments. And we're not talking about some obscure loophole. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of older Americans, many retired and living on fixed incomes, suddenly at risk of losing a portion of their only steady source of money. Then almost out of nowhere, that policy got reversed, right before it was about to start. The Trump administration stepped in and called it off. But why was it even happening in the first place? Why was it stopped? And what could still be coming down the road? That's the part no one's really explained in plain English. If you or someone you care about depends on those benefits, this could impact you more than you might think. Stick with me till the end. I'll break it all down. And hey, quick question. Have you ever had part of your check taken unexpectedly? Or gotten a confusing letter from the government that left you scratching your head? Let me know in the comments. Sometimes your story is exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if this kind of info helps you feel more in control, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way, I can keep you updated the moment anything changes. All right, here's what really went down. Earlier this spring, the Department of Education announced that a pause collection program would be restarting. For the past few years, collections had mostly been on hold. That started during the pandemic, when the government hit pause on aggressive debt recovery to give people some breathing room. But this year, that freeze was lifted, and with it came some of the government's strongest collection tools. One of those tools? The power to garnish Social Security checks. That means the government can legally take a portion of someone's monthly benefits if they're behind on certain debts. Up to 15%, in fact. And they don't even need a court order. Now pause and think about that for a second. Imagine you're living on a fixed income of $200 a month. It's not a lot, but you make it work. You plan every dollar carefully. Now imagine $180 disappears before it even reaches your hands. That's your groceries, that's your gas money, that's your peace of mind. Well, that's what was about to happen, starting in May of this year. But just as the restart date got closer, the news started spreading. Reports came out about how many retirees were at risk. Advocates raised the alarm, lawmakers started asking tough questions, the pressure built up fast, and the administration responded. In early June, a spokesperson from the Department of Education confirmed that no garnishments had started yet. And more importantly, they announced a temporary hold. They said they'd take a few months to reassess the plan, maybe find a better path forward. And that's the pause we're in right now, and what's odd is, there wasn't any big public announcement, just a quiet shift in plans. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because this could have easily slipped past a lot of people, and it's just too important to overlook. So why was this policy even being considered in the first place? It comes down to a broader philosophy about debt and responsibility. The Trump administration has made it clear they don't support what they call blanket forgiveness. Their stance is that if someone borrows money, they should pay it back. Because making taxpayers foot the bill feels unfair to those who did pay, or never borrowed to begin with. That argument hits home for a lot of folks. It sounds reasonable on the surface. But here's the other side of that coin. What if someone truly can't repay? What if they're retired, or disabled, or just barely scraping by as costs keep rising? Should we still be going after the only income they have left? That's where the human side comes in. For many people, this wasn't about avoiding payments, it was about surviving. The data shows that a huge portion of those at risk of garnishment were seniors, people over 62. And a lot of them didn't even borrow for themselves. They co-signed for their kids or grandkids, trying to help them get ahead. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, over 450,000 older adults were already in default. And many of them rely almost entirely on Social Security to get by. There's no safety net. So even a small cut can mean missed meals or falling behind on bills. And the numbers have only gotten more extreme over time. 2 decades ago, Americans over 60 held about $20 billion in this kind of debt. Today, that number has exploded to over $125 billion. That's more than 6 times as much. So this isn't just a fringe issue anymore. It's spreading fast and affecting people in every corner of the country. And here's something else worth knowing. Once you fall into default, it's not easy to bounce back. It's not just about picking up the phone and making a payment. There are extra fees. Interest keeps adding up. And a lot of people don't even realize they've defaulted until the collections start. The system is messy. Notices go missing. Options aren't clearly explained. And when you're dealing with something as complex as federal debt collection, it's easy to get overwhelmed. Especially if you're not someone who checks government websites or logs in online every week. Some experts have even said the cost of these garnishments isn't worth it. Once you factor in how much it costs to process and enforce them, the government barely breaks even. But the emotional and financial toll on the people involved, that part is huge. So the administration's choice to pause these garnishments, for however long that pause lasts, was actually a pretty big move. It shows they're listening, that they're open to rethinking how these tools are used, especially for vulnerable communities. But let's be honest, a pause isn't a fix. It's a chance to breathe, yes, but it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. Will the collections start again later? Will they create new protections for seniors? Or are we just going to be back in the same place a few months from now? There's no official answer yet, just a promise to review the policy and explore more affordable repayment options. And while that's something, it still leaves a lot of folks in limbo. That's why staying informed is so important. If this affects you or could, make sure to stay on top of your notices. Keep your contact info updated. And if you're not sure where you stand, call your servicer. Yeah, it might not be the easiest call, but knowing your status helps you prepare for what's next. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether it's a family member, a legal aid group, or an advocacy organization, there are people out there who can guide you through this. You don't have to go it alone. It's easy to forget sometimes that these aren't just numbers, they're real people, real stories. This whole situation is a reminder that the systems we depend on need to be guided by compassion, not just calculation. Because whether you're 25 or 75, getting hit with a sudden deduction from your only reliable source of income, that's something nobody should have to go through. So as we wait to see what happens next, here's what you can do. Stay informed. Be there for people around you who might be going through this silently. Sometimes, just having someone in your corner makes all the difference. And speaking of being in your corner, thank you for being here. If this video helped clear things up or gave you something to think about, give it a like and share it with someone else who might need it. And if you've ever had your Social Security affected or dealt with confusing debt collection notices, drop your story in the comments. Your experience could be what makes someone else feel a little less alone. Hit that subscribe button if you want updates that actually make sense, without all the noise. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.